On today's show, we got our Mavs' first win of the season. Isaac, undefeated season is in play.
Undefeated season, finals bound, Luka Doncic MVP. It's happening. Bobby, sixth man of the year.
Luka Doncic, and this is Locked On Mavericks podcast.
The Dallas Mavericks are NBA champions. Bang! Bang! It's good! And the Mavericks have won the game!
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
And welcome. You are locked on to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, and I hit the intro way earlier than I should have. Joining me, as always, my co-host, contributor at Mavs.com. The game day Mavs win wonder. The one more thing, King. What you got for me, Isaac Harris?
Mavs win. Mavs win. Let's go. The preseason.
Guys, I got to go back to the AAC. I got to sit there. I got to be in the room where it happens. I got to sit next to Isaac during game. And let me tell you, Isaac cares more about preseason than anyone I know.
That is 100% true. I even clipped some highlights tonight. Enjoyed this game.
You did? You actually did.
But you know what? I looked over at you during the player intros, and I said, welcome back.
Oh,
because
I felt that right down in my soul when you said that to me.
It's so good having you back in the arena where you're supposed to be. But you know what? On the bright side, if you're going to miss a couple of years in Dallas covering Mavs games, it's during COVID because
yeah, true.
We haven't gotten the chance. When we started covering the Mavs, we were in the locker rooms, meeting players, forming relationships, and all these pressers in person. And these past 2 years, we're not on the floor, anymore. And we're not in the actual locker rooms and all that, but we're still in the pressers and all that. But COVID has all the new restrictions.
Yeah, for those that don't know, I was away. I lived in Florida for a couple years because of a family situation, and so I was there for 3 years. Today was actually my first time in the room, in the building, seeing Luka live. Isn't that insane? But yeah, so I was
talked about him every day for 5 years.
I hadn't seen him in person. So this is the first time I got to come back. I was very excited. But on today's show, we're going to get into the preseason game. We'll break down everything that we saw. We were in the arena. We got to see a lot of good stuff. We got to talk about Boban, and we got to talk about Luka. And we got to see if we answered any questions. Were there any little hints? Preseason's not going to give you any answers on real anything, but they'll give you little hints of things. And so we'll talk about the little hints on stuff like KP's role. Are they going to stick with this 2 big lineup? What did it look like? Did anything look different from the Rick Carlisle stuff? All that we're going to talk about. But thanks for making Locked On Mavs your first listen every single day. Remember, Locked On Mavs is free and available on all platforms, including YouTube, where you can watch us right now do a dance to our favorite song. That's it. All right. The big takeaway from this game, I thought, was
Carlik Jones.
Carlik Jones was fun. I thought he had some good moments. No, the Mavericks are really like zigging while Rick Carlisle was zagging.
I think it's more zagging than.
There were so many post-ups in this game, and in contrast, the Jazz, who did not play 7 of their best 9 players, basically. It was Jordan Clarkson, Royce O'Neal, and then like a bunch of dudes that you'd kind of heard of because you saw them in college a little bit, right? And so...
Don't be disrespecting Trent Forrest.
If everybody's listening on the podcast, I just waved like Trent Forrest did after that Summer League game against the Mavs. If you saw this game, there's such a stark contrast because the Jazz played really small. They started Eric Paschall at the center, and he's maybe 6'7". Like, he's just not a big dude when you see him in person.
He thought he was a sniper too.
Yeah, he did. He kicks his legs out real far. It's kind of funny. And they took 23s in the first quarter. They ended up taking, what did they finish with? Like 63s or something like that?
Like 52, I think.
Finished with 52 threes. The Mavericks finished with 30, but they only took like, I don't know, 5 or so in the beginning of the first quarter. And so you could just see this stark difference between the Jazz jacking a bunch of threes and the Mavs were posting up everybody. KP was getting post-ups. Moses Brown was getting post-ups. Willie Cauley-Stein was getting post-ups. And it was happening because the Jazz, instead of having Rudy Gobert and their back line and them trying to fight through switches, they switched everything. They switched a whole bunch of stuff because they had a bunch of dudes out there that were like 6'3" to 6'7" basically. And so they decided to switch. And so you'd get these mismatches, and then they'd throw it in. The Mavs would throw it into the post to Moses Brown, he's not a post-up guy. He's a lob threat. He's a finisher around the rim. He is not a guy that you dump the ball down to, and he's going to Joel Embiid himself to the basket and finish, right? And so I thought that was one of my big takeaways, was that they're really sticking to this. We're going to post up guys. We're going to post up KP for sure. And I found it interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's telling that, some of the first few questions in the post-game presser from both Callie and Tim Cato were about post-ups. Callie asked about the kind of the balance of post-ups at the threes, when we shot a lot of threes in the Carlisle era. Tim Cato asked specifically about Porzingis and where he wants Porzingis' touches, post, mid-range, all of that. I just think that's
be able to touch the car.
I think that's a telling thing. Shout out to Jason Kidd's wardrobe, his new shirt with the collar.
Good morning, Isaac.
Great shirt. We used to go to Phillips Lane's bowling alley of my hometown growing up, and that shirt just kind of reminded me of that. But you know what? I like the retro feel. But I think that's the big takeaway is watching the offense tonight, and honestly, a little bit of the defense. I want to preface it. It's the preseason, right?
Everybody's rusty. You can just tell.
Yeah. And Nick jokes with me, fan jam is super low for me as far as how much I care about it. Preseason's a little bit step up, regular season. Then it's all full on, care about everything. But I'm not going to sugarcoat it either. I'm not going to say I loved what the offense looked like, nor am I going to say I loved what the defense looked like, because my questions with the defense was when you roll out two bigs, how are you going to guard the perimeter? They gave up 23s in the first quarter. This team sucked at shooting threes tonight, but what happens when you play a good team that can hit threes? And then offensively, I think at one point they had attempted 4 threes compared to Utah's 20 or 18.
Yeah.
And it's it is the focus of the post and trying to feed the post so much. Is that it's the preseason, so we just want to get it rolling, so we're going to kind of overdo it? Or is that really the foundation, the core of the offense this year? That if that is, I'm a little worried. But
that's been our big question.
Preseason though.
That's been our big question throughout it. And if you took, what the offense looked like when they were trying to run some sets and what the lineups look like and things like that, that maybe gave us a hint as to, yes, they are really going to stick to this and play two bigs. They started Moses Brown with KP, and Moses Brown only played 5 minutes. So, whatever, take that as you will. Maybe I can do my conspiracy a little bit about them wanting to start Moses Brown instead of Dwight Powell. But we should mention that Dwight Powell was out. Dorian Finney-Smith was out. Frank Ntilikina was out. Tyrell Terry was out.
I think it's one of those things where you're seeing the spot starters.
For sure, Rick did this all the time. Yeah.
Well, I think you're seeing it for tonight because I think they're trying to keep the bench unit intact. I think, them bringing Reggie and Maxey off the bench and starting Moses and Josh Green. I think it's a little. They were just placeholders for Dorian and Dwight.
For sure.
I think it tells you that Moses probably isn't going to be in the rotation when the season starts, because Dwight's going to fill that Moses role. Willie's going to come off the bench, with Maxey. So, and even Josh Green, where does he play? Because Dorian's going to start in that spot. Sterling Brown came off the bench of that.
And played a lot.
Yeah, and I like Sterling Brown. I like him.
I like Sterling Brown too. I thought he brought some good stuff. He, is long, he's physical, all that kind of stuff. He can hit a three.
I can't say I was super impressed by Josh Green's minutes tonight. I mean, he's always active, but
we can get into some of our notes on some of those players a little bit later in the podcast. We'll get into that. But coming up, I want to talk about the two big lineup a little bit, because we saw that a lot. We also saw Luka and KP play together a lot. And I think there's one of two reasons why Jason Kidd wanted to do that. Isaac kind of hinted at it earlier, but we want to get into that and talk about how Luka looked. I can't believe we've gone this long without talking about how Luka looked. We'll talk about that coming up. But before we do, let me tell you about Sweatblock. Sweatblock is a new product that I think you're going to love, and I think that you can use. And especially if you're a big guy like us, you could definitely use it. If you sweat through your shirt, if you deal with pit stains, it's doctor created, doctor recommended, works for up to 7 days. They're these wipes that you wipe under your underarms, and you have a dry shirt guarantee for 7 days. And if you don't get it, you can get your money back. Sweatblock has that guarantee. That's why they call it the dry shirt guarantee. It's not just a guarantee, and then if it doesn't happen, nothing happens. They'll give you your money back if you don't have a dry shirt. It's the number one antiperspirant product on Amazon right now, which is insane. Think about all the antiperspirant things that are out there. Sweatblock is the number one. So go to sweatblock.com, use the promo code LOCKEDON. You'll get 20% off. You can also get it at Amazon or CVS, but if you want to get 20% off, and if you want to help out the show, use the promo code LOCKEDON at sweatblock.com. Again, sweatblock.com, promo code LOCKEDON. All right, Isaac Harris, let's get into some more about this preseason game. Again, the Mavericks did win this game. First win of the season, 111-101. And we've been talking about some hints at maybe what the Mavericks are going to do this season, what Jason Kidd's offense is going to look like, what his defense is going to look like, what his lineups are going to look like. I don't think we got any real answers, but we got some hints at stuff. The two big lineup, they really stuck to it. KP played with Moses Brown to start the game. He played with Willie Cauley-Stein some. I think he played with Maxey some. And that's, I guess, a two big lineup, but they're really sticking to it. He also had Luka and KP kind of mirror their minutes. I think KP only played 35 seconds or something without Luka in this game.
Yeah, super interesting. And I do want to say this on the too big thing. Let's see what it looks like with Dwight Powell. Dwight's a little bit more mobile than Moses defensively. Moses, we love Moses. It was fun talking to him on our pod and everything.
For sure.
But there's a reason why when we got Moses in the draft with in the trade with Josh Richardson, that we were kind of like, hey, let's kind of slow it up a little bit on how much Moses is going to play. I was very vocal about that of like, I don't know if Moses is even going to play over Willie. I still don't. I personally don't think he'll be in the rotation much when the regular season starts. But like you saw a little glimpse of that tonight when he was starting. He's just not as mobile to just get out on the perimeter. I think Dwight's a little bit more mobile in that, and Dwight's a better roller. And that opens up a lot of the offense whenever you're running that two-man game with Luka and Powell. But when you run that, it's efficient, but you're kind of relegating KP to just the three-point shooter, which they've been saying he's not just the three-point shooter, he's a basketball player, and they want to incorporate him other ways. So that's where it's going to get really interesting when Dwight gets in there.
So one of our other big questions, talking about KP playing with another big, is what's KP's offensive role? Because the best lineups the Mavericks rolled out against the Jazz in this game were the bench units that didn't have Luka or KP in them. It's the Brunson, Sterling Brown, either Reggie Bullock, Maxey, Willie Cauley-Stein. Those kind of lineups did really well in this game. And that's because everybody falls into their role. Sterling Brown and Reggie know that, all right, we take open threes, we fly around the perimeter. Maxey knows I'm going to fly around a little bit. I'm going to pick and roll just a little bit. Willie Cauley-Stein knows I'm a roller. That's what I do, right? And so, and Dale Brunson's like, I'm the straw that stirs the drink. And so everything falls into place. In the starting lineup, we didn't see that right away. Now, that doesn't mean that it won't happen, right? It's first game of preseason. We got a lot of time ahead of us, but we didn't see right away, oh, this offense looks really cohesive, and this offense looks like everybody's falling into place. They know exactly what their role is. It was kind of weird. There's some moments where, KP was trying to post up some guys, didn't work. The only time that a post up for KP really worked, that he had a good move, was against Jordan Clarkson, who's a foot shorter than KP. So he's able to take advantage of that. But there's some rust there. And I think it'll take a little bit of time to get KP back in his rhythm and figure out, I guess, maybe what his role is. Are we just going to be, I feel like we're stuck in this purgatory of what's KP's role. We're just going to be talking about this for years and years with Kristaps Porzingis.
And this is the biggest difference that we've seen them audibly talk about between Rick and Jason Kidd.
Yes.
Because when Jason Kidd sets up there in a post,
and Kidd has specifically said that he's going to do it differently than Carlisle, right? Like
that's what I'm saying.
He's almost referenced Carlisle in these,
these
answers.
He's like subtweeting him when it's in the post-game presser. Yeah. And he's like, we're not just going to put him in a corner and just make him a three-point shooter. He's a basketball player. So that is a big difference between him and Rick of how they want to use KP. But like we've been saying over these past few weeks, we have to see in action. There's a reason why Rick relegated KP to that role. KP played a role into him entering into that role. So we got to, how does KP look different? Does that become efficient and all of that? The other part of that of KP and Luka is how good Luka looked tonight.
Ooh, man.
I kind of want to like term it the Iztok theory on this, when Iztok threw it out on a pod of like, hey, I don't think there's going to be any like rushed or him tired.
None.
I think because of the offseason that he never stopped playing, that he's just going to enter the season like full on, like, let's do this. And dude had 19 points at halftime, and I mean he could have had way
in
more.
15 minutes.
Yeah, I mean he looked in mid-season form.
Luka, 19 points on 10 shots, 6 boards, 5 assists, and 2 turnovers in the game, and one of 2 from the free throw line. So 80% from the field, 50% from the free throw line. That's our guy right there. But yeah, the Iztok theory is totally correct. Luka looked, and I know you scoff at this, but he looked great in Fan Jam, and he looked good in the preseason game. He just continues to look sharp. Everything he does, the finishing at the rim, anytime in this game he tried to do something, he was successful at it. Basically, it felt like. And again, preseason game,
except running into Tyler Ford.
He did not. Well, maybe he did it on purpose because he doesn't.
True.
Remember, he doesn't like Tyler Ford. That's one of the refs that he doesn't like. He also pulled a Dirk where he fell down on the far baseline from us, and then somebody on the Jazz tried to help him up. I think it was Jared Butler, and tried to help him up, and then Luka tried to get up and didn't get all the way up and fell back down again.
I actually want to take up for Luka on this a little bit. I went back and rewatched that. The Jazz player was trying to help.
That's the play you went back and rewatched. You won't rewatch any other play. It's when Luka fell down.
The Jazz player that was helping him up, he started to help him up and had his head turned and then let go.
Yeah.
And so he let go of Luka instead of like fully brilliantly. And that was what was funny because Luka
that should be a flagrant.
It's like, call it right there.
That should be a flagrant.
Can we just I sent out a tweet about this during the game too. Can we just acknowledge how fun Luka is? Like
it's amazing.
He laughed so much tonight. Like he was just having fun. It was like he was at the state fair, just like playing around. He was, up on the bench, like cheering on Carlik Jones to like laughing on the floor, leaving for halftime, just laughing and giggling. Like just had a blast last night.
Nobody was happier for Boban hitting those 2 threes that we'll get to in a minute than Luka was.
Yeah.
Nobody, right? And that's what you love to see. You love to see. I thought the Mavs chemistry at least looked better than last season.
Yeah.
And maybe it's because they're able to do team dinners and stuff this year, and they just have a good group of guys. Like there's just a bunch of guys. Like in all of our interviews, we really enjoyed talking to everybody, and it just seemed like the chemistry, at least from what I saw, was better than it was to end last season.
There was one moment tonight that you're gonna laugh at me.
Should I hit the?
It was one. Yeah, no, hit it. This was one of the low key small moment, but big moment for me. And I even talked to you about it, and you're like, put that on your list. There was a moment that Tim Hardaway fell down on the floor.
Oh yes.
I don't care if all of you guys listen to this freaking podcast think that this is a dumb point. I'm making it. Tim falls down on the floor, and before he can like get up or anyone helps him up, Jason Kidd like comes onto the floor, like 2 hand gets him and pulls him up. And most people look at that and say, "Who gives a crap, Isaac? I don't care." I'm just saying it's stuff like that of a guy. There's a reason why a lot of players speak highly of him, and that players coach and all of that. And sure, have we seen Rick Carlisle come out on the floor and help a player up? No, but it's that type of, and not saying that that's the bar that you have to measure everything at, but it was like, dang, like, okay, like it's a small thing that I could see a player being like, yeah, man, coach, help me out. Like coach came out there, was like, let's go. And there's just something about his connection with players. There's a reason why Giannis and some of these guys always, speak highly of him. And I'm just, it was a little moment of, ooh, that's a little different than what we've, been used to over the past years.
Different than a lot of coaches. I wouldn't even just throw shade at Carlisle. How many coaches do we see go out on the floor and help their players up, right? And you could tell in Jason Kidd's mind when he saw Tim Hardaway Jr. on the ground, he goes, "Oh, I got to help him up," right?
Yeah,
and
that's the ex-player in him, right? I mean, I see that.
Like, I think it's also a conscious decision of him, like we're in this together, right? You probably laugh at you remember a couple years. Remember a couple of years ago with that when LeBron was first on the Lakers and like somebody fell down and like he ran over and he was mic'd up during this game and he goes, when your brother falls down, everybody's got to go over and help your brother up. That's your brother down the basketball court. And he starts doing that, like playing
He's like, what you do in life echoes in eternity. And I looked around and I could only see, I saw 3 rims and I prayed and I was like, I will aim for the middle one.
This is why people say I'm a LeBron apologist. So I just have to balance you out. No, but like that kind of mentality, that sort of thing. I thought it was a conscious decision by Jason Kidd, and we joke about that moment with Jason Kidd helping Tim Hardaway Jr. up, but I thought it was good. That was a good moment.
I did too. Yeah.
Coming up, let's give the rest of our thoughts on this game. There's a bunch of random stuff about Moses Brown, how Josh Green looked. Trey Burke was the only player that got a DNP CD. We know the reason why, and we're going to tell you coming up. But before we do, let me tell you about Built Bar. Built Bar is a protein bar that tastes like a candy bar. They're delicious. I love them. I was sitting there at the game thinking, dang, I wish I had a bottled water and a Built Bar right now. Ooh, and let me tell you, the Churro Puffs are back. Right as we're on this, I'm gonna order some right now on this call because on this podcast because the Churro Puffs are great. And if I don't get them now, and if you don't get them now, you're gonna miss out. Go get a Churro Puff.
I'm missing out.
You go ahead and miss out.
There's a lot of other flavors I need to order though right now. We just talked about it.
There's so many other flavors that you can get that you can order, but use the promo code LOCKED15. You'll get 15% off. I'm gonna use that promo code right now. Locked15 to get 15% off my box of
Why don't you go do that right now?
I am doing it. I literally am doing it right now as we talk about this. So go use the promo code Locked15. Built Bar, the best tasting protein bar that I've ever had. Also want to tell you about betonline.ag. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to put down some money on sports. MLB, postseason baseball, fun stuff if you want to get into that. We also have do we have a Friday night NFL game this week?
I don't know.
On BetOnline it says that we do.
Do we?
Rams,
Monday night though is Ravens Colts.
Rams Seahawks. Interesting. Maybe
that's Thursday.
Maybe that's Thursday. Yeah, Thursday night game. So that one's coming up tonight. Rams 1-point favorite in Seattle. So if you're feeling the home dogs, Seattle, if you want to put some money on them, use the promo code LOCKDOWN and get a 50% welcome bonus with your first deposit. BetOnline, all kinds of stuff, not just football and baseball, but basketball too coming up. You can bet futures and all that kind of stuff, daily games, wagers, prop bets, all that. BetOnline.ag, your online sportsbook experts. All right, Isaac Harris, let's get into some more about this game. Let's just start throwing back and forth at each other, different notes and stuff that we saw. Let's start with Trey Burke. Trey Burke was the one DNP CD, did not play, coach's decision. That's what DNP CD means, by the way. Did not play, coach's decision. Trey Burke was the only one. And Trey Burke is also the only player that we know of. There may be one other one, but he's the only player that we know of on the Mavericks that is not vaccinated or that has publicly said he is not vaccinated. After the game, Tim McMahon asked the question to Jason Kidd, why did Trey Burke not play? And Jason Kidd said that he was an emergency player who was only going to be used if someone, quote, got into foul trouble in the first half or got injured during the game. Now, this is a game where you have 20 available players, right? Because you have all the training camp guys, all 3 training camp guys, the two-way guys are there too, and all your players on your roster. So I'm not sure what an emergency player is. I feel like Rick Carlisle had mentioned an emergency player in the past, but I found that very interesting. Jason Kidd also mentioned that Trey Burke will not be the emergency player on Friday in the Mavericks preseason game, but that he will play, and that somebody else will be the emergency player.
Who will it be? Jalen Brunson? Don't know.
But I had not heard of that before, so that was a new one for me.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Whatever that means for him and the team.
So should we take anything from that, right? That he didn't play, right? Everybody's kind of just writing off Trey Burke and saying, well, he's just not going to be on the team because he doesn't want to be vaccinated. The Mavericks Jason Kidd said their goal is to get everybody vaccinated. He doesn't want to be. Is the writing on the wall that he's just gone and was today like the nail in the coffin? Or should we take Jason Kidd at his word that it was just a thing that he's an emergency player and he was designated that to let Carlik Jones and other guys play and all that?
We have to see Friday. If he comes out and doesn't play Friday or only plays a few minutes, then more of a red flag, pops up. But I mean, I do think it's something, the fact that Dorian and Frank and Dwight and Tyrell Terry all were out of this game and he didn't play at all. Yeah, I think that's I think
Yeah, why was
that's a little
Frank Ntilikina was on the bench? Why wasn't Frank Ntilikina the emergency player?
Yeah, I mean, Dwight was on the bench too. Dorian was on the bench, so like they were all there. They were out for rest tonight, so we'll see. Who plays on Friday.
You can only see my facial expression on YouTube. Locked On Mavs. Go subscribe. We're inching so close to 8,000 guys. So, and I guess our goal before that is 7,777. Just get all the sevens. That's what
Make
we
sure you
want.
get that screenshot in.
That's what we want next. Yeah. So that's the thing with Trey Burke. He was an emergency player and he didn't play. He was very invested in the game, though. Carly Jones hit a layup, and he was the first one to get up and scream and yell, and he was talking to people on the bench. He was really invested, which I found pretty interesting as a guy that seems like he has one foot out the door. But I think we think he has one foot out the door, but I don't think Trey Burke does, because from our conversation with him at Media Day and then seeing him tonight, it seems like he's like, I'm here and I'm playing.
Yeah. Well, and that's one of the things we did. Earlier in the week, we did 5 big questions for preseason, and one of them was was more than 5 questions. But what's the roster move, right? Like they got to make some type of roster move, and is it Frank? Like, what if we don't see Frank on Friday again? Is that like worrisome? Like, what are we like? Okay, or what does that mean? Or can they, do they trade Trey Burke to a team and get like a minimum contract back and then waive the minimum back? I'll be curious on what the roster move is. I will say this, as far as outside of Luka, I thought Luka looked great, like physically tonight. I also thought Maxey moved really well tonight.
Yeah,
the last time we seen him, was in the playoffs, and he was struggling with the Achilles thing. He talked, to us about that at Media Day. You can go back and listen to that pod on our YouTube channel. Like and subscribe below.
He said we asked him what was his physical like percentage when in the playoffs, and he said, I was having trouble running and jumping. We were like, yeah, that would be a problem. And if you're trying to play basketball and you were having issues running and jumping.
An NBA player. And that is but no, I thought he moved very, very well tonight.
He did,
so
yeah.
I was happy for
him.
him.
Hit a 3, had another dunk and a couple rebounds. He was positive in his minutes.
Yeah.
This is a note. This is a note you said to me during the game. Reggie Bullock has a green light, like as green of a light as you can have. He is
chuck that thing, man.
Yeah, he had 2 of his 5 threes, but yeah, he can just whenever he wants. And okay, I found this interesting, and I was curious what your thoughts are. Sterling Brown got in the game and played more than Reggie Bullock. Now, Reggie Bullock also missed time in camp when Frank Ntilikina did because of illness. So I'm curious if it was just because of that, but I don't want to read too much into it. I'm interested. No. I'm interested why that was the case.
Yeah, I'm not reading much into that. My favorite lineup I'm still wanting to see is, KP, Dorian, Reggie, Luka, Tim.
Yeah.
That's the lineup right there.
I don't think we definitely didn't see it because Dorian didn't play.
So 2 players I feel like we got to talk about the end. Carlik Jones and Boban. Carlik Jones, he plays super hard. I'm happy for him. The bench was super happy for him. I'm not ready to have any type of conversation on,
he's the new campaign.
Carlik over, Frank, or Carlik over I just don't know.
Two-way guys, Amarui or Ja'Cory.
I mean, he definitely showed more than the other guys in that. I'm excited for him. I mean, I think all these guys will end up in Frisco, but we'll just see how that plays out. I mean, just to be honest, I hate the situation for Tyrell, but Tyrell's roster spot is something I'm watching too right now.
Yeah.
Second round contract of that.
Was not a player that this front office drafted besides like Michael Finley.
Yeah. So that's another, we're looking at potential roster moves. And I know everyone's looking at Trey and Frank in that, but Tyrell's somebody I'm watching too.
All right. It's been long enough.
It's time.
Boban is back.
Boban. Had to hit it twice because Boban hit 2 threes. One of them, Jason Kidd said it was a designed play for Boban to get a 3. And then the second one, he said the second 3 was Boban's call. He said, this is a direct quote from Jason Kidd. Quote, the second 3 was Bobby's call. He broke the play. Boban hit back-to-back threes in the third quarter. It was the moment I think the crowd got into the most. We mentioned already, Luka was up and screaming. I posted a video from the arena of every single player on the Mavericks meeting him at half court and basically starting a tunnel for him all on the way back to the bench. But they had to sit and wait for him because he was talking to the ref about something, and just Boban being Boban. But man, it was a great moment, and I love seeing it.
You know what? We need to clip our talk with him for media day.
Boban is back.
Remember we joked with him. We're like, hey, stretch five, Boban, like a thing now? Is this the next, evolution of him? And
Boban is back.
Super excited for him. It was such a fun moment. That second three, he just pulled up in the dude's face.
He pulled, man.
Got it.
He was like a catch and shoot three.
Meanwhile, Willie had the same thought. And
Willie hit one of the most impressive shots of the night, I thought. It was a step in. He stepped up to a mid-range pull-up jumper, and I was like, hello?
But
he hit it.
There was a play at the beginning of the fourth quarter where
the one that I mentioned was in the first. Yeah,
Willie did a play that I'm like, bro, if Rick Carlisle was here, you would be so far down that bench. And he did a play where he caught the ball and did this like crossover behind the back or between the legs or something, and then pulled up off the dribble, like almost off 1 foot, and it's flat out air ball, like didn't even get close to the rim. And I was just like, whoa, all right, like we're having fun now. So
there was times in this game where guys I told you, I was like, guys are just doing stuff. Like Josh Green had a turnaround, like mid-range Dirk, like pull up the knee move. And I was like, okay, guys are just like, they're just doing things now.
I will say the most impressive moment of the night for Josh Green, pre-game warm-ups, he jumped from like the dotted line and did this windmill, and it was nasty. And I'm like,
effortless too.
You just have to be there for the warm-ups. So.
Okay, I do want to mention Josh Green though, because I thought
we just did.
I thought his defense something real. I thought his defense was really good. Jordan Clarkson struggled against him to get his shot off because he fought through screens, and he actually is quick. Like, he is really quick. It was noticeable the difference in speed between Josh Green and Sterling Brown. Not that Sterling Brown isn't fast, but Josh Green is. And I thought it was positive in his favor. That's the thing he's good at. He should be good at it, and he was, right? Like, those are positives that you take.
Tries really hard, has a lot of energy. My last note I'll say is the court looked amazing.
It did.
Looked really, really good.
The new court with the green and it's the old Mavs logo with the hat, and the Dirk silhouette is still there, which I'm so glad that they're just never getting rid of that. Yes. Eventually, I guess a Luka one will be next to it, but it looked great.
Yeah, everything looked good tonight. Excited, and now we have another game coming up on Friday.
Anything else from the in-arena? We saw a couple make out wearing a Whataburger hamburger costume on the floor of the AAC.
On top of each other.
Yeah. They have this game where you dress up like different buns, and then you have the one partner has to gather all the ingredients and run with like basically this sumo suit of a bun costume on, and then jump on the other partner, and then the partners both took their masks off and just started making out. And I was like, oh boy, what's happening in the middle of the AAC right now?
We had a little switch tonight. Sean Heath was out. Chris Arnold took over for that.
And let me tell you, Sean Heath from Fan Jam to the preseason cannot pronounce Eugene Amarui's name and just calls him Eugene over the loudspeaker.
Are you saying Sean Heath or Chris Arnold?
Chris Arnold. Arnold cannot pronounce Eugene Amarui's name. Love Chris Arnold. Almarui.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts or stuff from the game that you took? Shout out to everybody that was there. I saw some people tweeted at me that they were at the game. Shout out to our friend Lauren, who was at the game, her first day covering media, which was awesome at the game. Our friend Jimmy was there. We saw, love seeing people at the game.
Yeah, super cool. Always reach out to us. Maybe we can try to, feels like
we should do a meetup sometime. Just like everybody go to this game. We'll meet at a certain concourse or something.
Go to this section and go to the avocado, whatever. They handed out free posters tonight too. As you left, thought that was cool. But it was just cool seeing the vibe back, people back, arena back. We were joking last year at the beginning of last year. It was, I was showing up to these.
Are immaculate.
I was showing up to these games and there was nobody in there. It it was just like an eerie thing of like some of us media sitting on like second
Yeah.
deck, and we could like holler down to Dwight and he would like wave up because no one's in there. So like he could hear us. And it was like the weirdest vibe. And it's great having fans back.
Absolutely. Guys, we will be back tomorrow and possibly Friday with the post game. We'll see how the game goes, but we will be back tomorrow. Guys, thanks so much for making Locked On Mavs your first listen every single day. And tomorrow we will be back with more thoughts about what the Mavericks are going to do during the season, what KP's role could look like. If we had to decide what KP's role would be like, we'll talk about that. Make your second listen today, Locked On Fantasy Basketball with Josh Lloyd, the GOAT, doing incredible things, rising up the iTunes charts right now. I think he's like 80th in all of sports podcasting right now, which is an insane number considering all the sports podcasts there are. So, guys, thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs. Boom!